Why doesn't Cernunnos use the internet? Because he prefers the root network.
Hello, welcome to the podcast, The Shades of Jade, where we discuss things historical, modern, spirituality. Just to let you know, listeners, we are just the two of us, and we have no editing team. So we try, and we do. But forgive, this is only second episode ever in existence.
Yes. Cinnamongrove plugs away at that editing. She's a beast.
It took so long.
She's a gem. We're gonna keep her.
Oh, I am kept. Am I a kept woman? Anyways, enough about me. We're going to get into who Cernunnos is so you understand the joke.
Yes, we have a lovely episode for you today, and we're going to talk about some spring deities, starting with Cernunnos, or Cernunnos, or Cernunnos, however you pronounce his name.
Over time, the language has changed, and in my experience as a psychic, deities do not care as long as you are respectful.
But for the sake of this episode, we will be referring to the green horned god,
the horned man,
as Cernunnos from
Celtic mythology.
Some portray Cernunnos with goat horns, some ram horns, antlers.
Like I like
horns.
to wear in my little picture. Isn't
yes.
she beautiful? You should check out our artist.
Tigerrific. Linked underneath the podcast. So Cernunnos.
Over time, in the seasons change, he changes as well.
Yes. He's often portrayed sitting cross-legged, holding two ram-horned snakes at his side. He's been referred to as the Green Man.
The horned one.
The horned one. The horned god.
Horned god.
Yep. Specifically in Wiccan, he's often referred to as the horned god. And there's other versions of him across different pantheons.
Yes.
There's the Greeks have Pan, which is a similar vibe to Cernunnos as well. But Cernunnos changes, like you said.
Changes over the seasons. He becomes the Underking, and he sings the dead to sleep.
Sings the dead to sleep. Yes, he also is known for transitioning the dead,
the seasons and the dead. Like, he's known for ruling crossroads. Yes.
For the dead, which is interesting as well.
There are quite a few crossroad deities.
There are
over different ways of tradition.
Yes. There are quite a few. And he is one of those as well. He also represents fertility.
He does.
So, one way that he is portrayed, he will often be shown with a large, erect phallus.
Rated R. Look, he is the god of wild things. It's gonna get wild up in here.
And he represents masculine fertility specifically. Yes. And masculine elements in nature, masculine
archetypes.
Animals, masculine archetypes. Exactly.
Yes. It was interesting reading about him because there was one specific article where she said that she would go out and just call his name until he arrived in her space.
Yes. And to me, that's
a little spicy.
Cernunnos gets a little rowdy.
Traditionally, he is he is celebrated in May, but we wanted to talk about him because he is also fertility. And it is spring.
Exactly. And spring represents fertility. It's our most fertile time of the year where everything starts popping back up and the flowers start to bloom and the trees get their leaves and everything just starts to smell fresh and green and lush once again. And that's kind of what he represents, bringing in that lush, green, new growth. Exactly.
Speaking about growth, we also want to discuss Persephone around this time of year because she has come back from the underworld and is now with her mother Demeter.
Yeah, interesting story, Persephone. So there's so many fertility and spring gods and goddesses, and I wouldn't call Persephone a fertility goddess as much.
No, but growing and then also dying.
Definitely. And she has such an interesting story as well. She is daughter to Demeter and Zeus, and Demeter is the goddess of the harvest.
Yes.
And she would go do her duties daily, and she would leave Persephone with the garden nymphs to watch over her and keep her safe. And she wanted to keep Persephone chaste. She didn't want Persephone to marry. She wanted to protect her from the other gods and keep her to herself, basically. She wanted to protect her from that life.
Which, as a mother, we can both get behind wanting to protect our children.
Right. Exactly. So, Hades had been through a few times and he'd seen Persephone, and he had seen her, and he decided he wanted to make her his wife, but he knew Demeter would never agree to it, right? He knew Demeter wasn't gonna have it. And so he had to come up with a plan to get Persephone. And in some stories, he did this all on his own. There was nothing, no one else involved. And in other versions of the story, he went to Zeus and got Zeus to help him and get Zeus's permission to marry Persephone. So depending on the story, the version that you read, either he did it himself, all on his own,
or he had help
from Zeus. So one day, Persephone was out in the field picking wild flowers, and
Hades came in.
He had actually Gaia's help, because Gaia created this narcissus flower for him to...
Of course it was a narcissus.
A narcissus flower for him to attract Persephone, because she had never seen a flower like that before. And so she was immediately drawn to it, and it was out in the distance. And so she was lured away from all of the garden nymphs, and they were all distracted doing their duties, and they hadn't noticed that she had gotten away from them.
This is where the story goes dark, depending on where you read it. Now, if you look at the Theogony, there is a fruit that wine is made out of, but take away the G. That happens.
Yes, we will discuss the different versions. There's darker
tones.
Interpretations.
All mythology is got dark tones.
And, and some of that has been maybe washed out over the years, but...
or invented.
But if it's dark, and it's from ancient times.
Like Theogony.
I would go with the darker toned story for accuracy because those were truly dark times, and that is truly a more accurate take if we're being honest. But we're going to get into it.
We're trying to get into it. We just got to tell you guys.
It's dark. So she goes to pick the flower, but when she goes, she pulls on the flower and it won't come up. And she starts pulling really hard and she yanks it and she falls back and the earth splits open. And out comes a chariot with black horses and Hades is on the chariot. And he comes up and in the dainty version, she's all excited to get out of the garden.
Think of like a rebellious teenager. I'm not saying that Persephone is a rebellious teenager. I am saying that in that version, that is kind of the
She's
feel.
like, yes, Hades, take me to the underworld. But
in the darker version,
that's the dainty version. She's like, I'm bored here. Take me out of here. No, we don't believe that. So most people believe that he takes her against her will. She doesn't even have a moment to say a word. He sweeps her away and the earth closes back up before any of the nymphs can even look that direction.
Now, when we're reading mythologies and histories, over time it does shift and it can change depending on who's telling the story. But when we're reading it, we're not seeing a personal point of view from a deity. We're seeing a story that was told by another person, that was told by another person, that eventually was inscribed somewhere, right? So eventually we see inscribed that Persephone does in fact eat of pomegranate, and she's made, quotation marks, I'm doing air quotes right now, you cannot see that. She's made to come back for so long into the underworld.
Right. And there's discussion on whether she was tricked into eating those seeds or if she ate them willingly as well.
And over the course of time, we're not saying that Persephone does not enjoy her time there or dreads it either. We're saying that from what I can gather as somebody that's met Persephone's energy, it kind of seems like she enjoys her time there and she enjoys her time in the spring here. She is kind of got that split personality where she thrives in both settings.
And I think that it came with time. I don't think that I go with the story where she learned to love Hades, because Hades was really good to her. And in every story, Hades always was really good to her. So it's hard to believe that she wouldn't learn to love him over time, especially knowing that she stuck with him for an eternity, no matter what. You would think that you'd give in and you would learn to love someone in that situation if they're extremely good to you, particularly. You know, in every version, whether she never loved him, learned to love him, or always loved him, she was always treated well by Hades.
Yes. And if you're looking any of this information up outside of what we post link-wise, in popular fiction and smutty books, Hades and Persephone has become a whole theme in its own. So don't look at those as if they are history, because they are not.
Minus, if we do say, if he did her in the beginning to make her his wife.
But that's in the Theogony. That's not modern smutty books.
That's not treating her well, obviously. But that would be
just saying
the one consummation to make her his wife, and then from then on it was known that he was treating her well.
Yes. But also, just check your sources. Don't look at a smutty fictional book and think that that is actually mythology.
Also,
it's not.
God rules are different.
I'm not saying they're not either, because, you know, in some mythologies you have family-related action happening.
Yeah, like, if you think about it, that's his niece.
I'm saying example Egyptian mythology. There's brother and sister.
Right, but like,
You know.
Persephone is Hades' niece.
Well.
And Demeter and Zeus were brother and sister.
We are giving you historical fact. We are not endorsing.
Yeah.
Just like Game of Thrones, right? That's fiction.
It's not.
Don't know.
We're not justifying anything, but God rules are clearly different.
Let's jump into.
I'm not saying they didn't come out with deformities. They were gods.
This is true. Okay, well, I think we have covered Persephone in depth, a little bit more than Chronos. We apologize, Chronos. You are revered here.
Right. So needless to say, she ate the pomegranate seeds and now she comes back.
Every winter she goes into the underworld, and every spring she comes out to be with Demeter. Although I have seen some people theorize that maybe she goes into the underworld in the summer because think nothing really is growing. But that's theory. That's not.
And I've seen that some say that she ate 1 pomegranate seed. Some say she ate 6.
Yeah.
And she spends 6 months in the underworld and 6 months on Earth. She spends, if she ate 1 pomegranate seed, she spends 4 months in the underworld and 8 months on Earth. So it's different depending on
where you read it.
Exactly. So
cite your sources.
Exactly. But the story, the gist of the story remains the same.
Love, growth, fertility, death. All in both of these deities, Chronos, Cernunnos, and Persephone. Also, I would like to add, before we move on to Aries season, that Persephone has many different titles. And a lot of deities in the Greek pantheon have many different titles. They are called epheitet. And what you can do is look that up on Theoi. I will link that. And there is lists of titles where these deities have names, like, if I say example here, Hecate is considered the filth eater. And Aphrodite has a title where she is called Aphrodite Aurea. And that is only revered in Sparta. And that is the goddess of war. So, you know, Greek mythology, whole thing. Hellenistic pagan, that's a whole path. But we're going to move on to some lunar stuff going on. We got this Aries solar eclipse. We got Aries season popping off. We got Mercury retrograde going wild.
Mercury's in the Gatorade.
Mercury's in the Gatorade in the microwave.
Oh, man.
Not to chuck them up. Anyway, so
we're gonna get that mercury out of the microwave.
It's gonna blow up the house. We're not endorsing you putting mercury in the microwave either. Don't put plastic in there. Don't put metal. I said what I said. Now let's look at our...
Don't explode your thermometers.
Don't do that. Do they even put mercury in the thermometers anymore?
I don't
think they do.
Do they? I think maybe some of them.
You'd have to buy like a specific old one, like maybe at an antique store. Anyways, tangent done. We're going to look at our natal charts, and we're going to talk about this Aries season Mercury retrograde situation happening. There is conjunction with Mercury and Chiron. And I know you do not know what that means.
But we're going to tell you.
Just got to get real close and listen. Are you listening? Aries is conjunct Chiron. The conjunction means that they are both highlighted and connected in a way that means you need to see where your Chiron and Aries is. And we will put on links in the bio about what each house placement means.
And how to find your Aries placement.
And also, if you don't know what it means, you could Google, what does it mean if my Aries placement is in the first house?
Or in my Chiron. Or, as you're going to see, mine is in my IC.
Which is not a house placement. It is a whole nother thing.
It's not a house or a planet. It's totally different. We're going to talk about that.
It's going to be
traumatic.
Let's talk about trauma. Not another spiritual guru's trauma.
Yeah.
Take 3.
Yeah, my trauma. That's going to be fun.
We have family that listens to the episodes, so this is difficult.
Yeah, so my Aries is in my IC, which has to do with childhood trauma and some other things. So we're gonna talk about that. We're also gonna talk about how my Chiron is in Cancer in the 7th house.
Chiron is
the wounded healer.
Yes, he is the, if you want to look at him as what he looks like, he is a centaur.
Yeah. So, okay.
Let's talk about trauma.
Yeah. So,
you're not on. You gotta turn on.
Why am I not on?
I turned on her mic. I turned it on.
Tappity
tap tap.
Now I'm turned on. Okay. Let's get into the childhood trauma. Yeah, so Aries in my IC. Childhood trauma. It was a very fast moving. It's talks about probably moving around a lot as a child. That happened for me. Very emotionally fueled childhood. True. Forced to be self-sufficient and independent. True.
What?
Okay. So that's definitely a big problem that I got called out on looking into my chart with Aries. Also, so in conjunction with Chiron, my Chiron's in Cancer in the 7th house. And that's my wounded healer. And I have an issue with being undervalued, feeling undervalued in my relationships, because I tend to draw in people who don't always appreciate me
or match her energy
or match my energy.
I match your energy.
Cinnamongrove matches my energy. Very few people. I've learned over the years how to find people who match my energy and how to match other people's energy a lot better, but it is something that I have struggled with for a very long time. And so that's another thing I got called down on today, this Aries season.
It just called you out, but also this is stuff that's going to come up again in your life. That was the point.
It is. No, and it comes up often because let me tell you how many times I've been overlooked just by people that I did care about, who I thought cared about me. And then...
Do you want to talk about the Harry Potter theory?
Just... What's the Harry Potter theory?
We did this the other day where we said that the houses are like astrology.
Oh! The houses are like astrology. Oh, not the Slytherin sun sign with the
Hufflepuff
rising. You'll never suspect me.
But she will do some shady shit.
No! Not shady! Ambitious.
There you go. There you go.
Ambitious.
This is ambitious.
This is ambitious. And guess what?
They didn't see it coming.
They didn't.
Nobody did.
They didn't. And then my friends were like, when they listened to the first episode, they were like, is that your friend's podcast? And I was like, actually, it's mine and my friend's podcast. And then they were like, oh, not another spiritual guru, because that's my name.
Not her name given by her mother. One she chooses.
And then they said government name. And then they said, oh, so that is you on there. I thought I recognized that laugh. And I was like, yep, that's me. And they're like, I didn't know you were going to do a podcast. And I was like, no, you didn't.
No, you didn't. Look, honestly, I don't know if I've had anybody that I know besides one other person, hello, friend, that I went to get boba tea with. I know you're listening. If you know, you know. Anyways, that's the only person I know that knows me that's listened to it. Because we've only had a few listeners so far. It's gonna blow up. And when it does, we're gonna be famous. Anyways, so I'm gonna talk about my placements. But
and she said she laughed with us the whole episode.
She did. Look, and I love that because we're
hilarious.
That's one word. There are many words. I did an eyebrow bounce thing.
So
you can't see it.
Yeah. So let's hear about your Aries placement, Cinnamon Grove.
Look, okay. So we are both astrology ladies, but also this astrology was astrologying, and it was a lot and intense.
Did you get called out?
I got called out.
You got called out?
You saw me get called out.
I did.
I gotta say it out loud to everybody.
Yeah. In the ethers.
In the ethers of the internet.
Forever.
Yeah, that's what my spouse said. He said that I will exist forever on the internet.
You will. We will.
We will. How does that feel?
Amazing.
A little weird.
Fabulous.
Okay, anyways, so Aries is in my 8th house. And there's been a lot of feeling happening recently that I have been feeling, and I've been expressing it too. Not another spiritual guru. See, I didn't see your government name.
Government name.
The 8th house is about death, transformation. It could also be the house for law and justice, and it's a lot. It's saying that Aries is very okay with burning down to start back up. Aries will light the house on fire. I will not. Aries, the zodiac sign, will light its own house on fire to rebuild it.
Cinnamon Grove is not an arsonist.
I'm not an arsonist. Look, sometimes we're like, can we say that? I don't know. And I just
can say that.
I just said it. So I said what I said. I wonder if that will come through in the audio that we said it at the same time or not. Editing us. Anyways, so it says that Aries is comfortable with burning it all down to start over from the beginning. Very intense in that space. They require intensity in that space. And it's not funny, it's confirmation. And the way that I literally will tell you, if I am trying to be a friend, that I would rather be real. I don't want the surface. I want to be able to sit there and deep dive with you about all the things. And sometimes that's too intense for people.
Facts.
But that's what Aries is saying in my natal chart. So, that was...
We don't want no half-ass friends.
Look, no. You're either here with me and we're burying stuff together in the yard.
Like hex jars.
Maybe. Maybe not.
Maybe not.
Maybe protection.
Just kidding.
Maybe we're giving offerings to the underworld in the backyard.
Maybe. To Persephone.
Because historically, you would dig spaces and put them in the ground.
True.
You'll never know, will you, listener?
Unless you know.
If you know, you know.
Okay.
Anyways. In my 11th house is Chiron. Yes, Chiron, my wounded healer. It's telling me, bitch, you were bullied. Bitch, you and people don't like each other.
Bitch, you're a Gemini.
Bitch, you're a Gemini. It said you have to mask. It says you have to you like to isolate from people because you don't like to be around them once they show their crappy side. And I was like, masking? No way. I have ADHD. Anyways, so it also talked about the biggest part of the problem is accepting love. Yeah, that's pretty heavy. It's not funny and cute.
No.
It's hard.
It's very...
Because the gift might be poison, or it could be a gift. You don't know if it's wrapped. Think of like what Alice says. It's like Alice said in Lewis Carroll's, not Disney's, the OG, like written word, okay? The gift could be like, if you drink from a bottle marked poison, it is certain to disagree with you sooner or later. And the gift could be not marked poison, but be poison.
Facts.
So it's hard to take the gift and accept the love because of trauma.
True.
It's like, instead of saying, let's talk about mothers, it's let's talk about trauma.
Yeah.
And you know, sarcasm and dark humor is a sense of having problems with trauma.
Yep.
It's okay.
We got that dark humor over here. It's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay.
So,
you gotta laugh about it.
you gotta laugh.
You gotta laugh.
Because Mercury
is in the Gatorade.
In the microwave. That would be merch. But we couldn't say, we couldn't have Gatorade on there.
Yep.
Should become Boomhauer.
Yep.
In conclusion, the horned god.
Oh, wait, in conclusion, are we going to talk about the eclipse?
Not conclusion. The eclipse coming up.
Or having passed.
Or having passed. I'm sorry. The eclipse that takes place on April 8th, 2024, that is visible for most of the U.S., but to see it, you need to be in the line of totality at its peak.
Which is stretching kind of diagonally across the United States.
The United States.
United States of America.
America.
That's where we're located. We're actually pretty close to that path of totality. We're not going to say where.
Maybe we can say where.
I don't know. And, well, it's a pretty good stretch. It's like through the Appalachian, kind of, right?
That makes me feel a certain way, you saying that out loud.
Appalachian?
Look, for real though, because do you think that woods needs to get hit by a fucking solar eclipse? I said what I said. Are we charging Mothman?
Are we charging? Mothman's on the loose. This solar eclipse, you heard it here from Cinnamongrove.
Look, I'm just saying, spiritual things.
Okay, so a power shift happens during the solar eclipse. The eclipse, which is quite amazing. But it's quite startling if you don't know what's happening. And back in the day, people were very startled.
They used to call it the witchcraft and then bad omens.
Very bad omen. In Babylonian history, it was considered a bad omen for the king when an eclipse would happen. But in many cultures, it's considered a bad omen, and the history of the word means to be eaten by a dragon in Chinese culture. And there's lots of interesting things about the eclipse. Eclipses or originally how we learned the distance of the moon from the earth.
Are you telling me that witchcraft is science and science is witchcraft?
And math.
And math.
All of the above.
You do have crystals in your cell phone.
So the guy that calculated the distance from the moon to the earth, his name was Hipparchus? I think that's how you pronounce it. And in his hometown, one day there was a total eclipse happening. And 600 miles due south from him, there was a 4/5 obscured solar eclipse. And he took those distances and he mathed it up, and he figured out with that information the distance from the moon to the earth. So that's pretty interesting. Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, that is lots of interesting historical information about
I have a little bit more. I got a little bit more here. You want to hear it?
Sure, go ahead, share.
Okay, so you know Stonehenge?
Yeah, I know Stonehenge. People flock to it.
Yeah, so they don't really know what Stonehenge was for. Historically, that's just kind of like one of the wonders of the world, and we don't really have solid proof of what it was used for, but many researchers believe that it could possibly have been used to predict solar eclipses. So that's a great possibility. So that's one theory about Stonehenge. That was pretty interesting as well. What do you think?
I think that is very interesting, and I think that as far as historical things go, spirituality wise, a lot of archaeologists are just undigging things for us to use in modern culture, especially Norse paganism.
Yes.
Because that we're basing all of our beliefs in that type of tradition on what they're finding. Even right now, we're uncovering a lot of things in Greece as well. The Parthenon, I saw something about it having different color paints that they found, microscopic wise. Purple and white. Interesting. But anyways.
I learned something about paint the other day.
You did?
Yeah. That certain pigments are going extinct.
Oh.
Yeah, as a painter, I thought that was pretty interesting.
It's kind of sad.
Yeah, that pigments are often derived from natural sources.
Yeah.
And those natural sources are getting depleted when they make paint and other pigmented items. Those pigments get depleted over time and some are going extinct. I know that's really random, has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
It's okay. I talked about something and it came up. Paint is
ADHD brain.
It's okay.
ADHD brain.
It's okay. Look. But we're going to get back into the eclipse and stop talking about history and talk about it happening or happened.
What about what do you think about witchcraft during the eclipse?
Okay, look, here's the deal. Let's get personal, friends. We're friends now. I don't care if I don't know you and you've never met me in real life. I'm telling you, do you, boo-boo. And if that's going crazy during the eclipse, I'm not condoning any type of crime now. But if you want to do witchcraft, do it. Look, I did witchcraft over the lunar eclipse. I did do that.
Mm-hmm.
It was intense. It was intense. Was it on purpose? No. Did I feel like I needed to do it? Yes, 100,000. All the infinity percentage.
To be fair, it is a new moon eclipse.
Which is not about releasing.
I do witchcraft every new and full moon.
We do. We definitely both do.
I'm not taking a break for an eclipse.
Not going to take a break. Look, Some people are all against it. Even pagan news articles I saw on pagan sites were like, don't do it. You do you. Just be safe if you're burning something. Fire safety is important.
Always. Not just during the eclipse. Always.
Always. Look, cast iron doesn't break. Glass and ceramic. Not ceramic. What is the word? You know what I'm talking about. Glass and pottery breaks. Use metal or cast iron materials. She's laughing at me.
Ceramic.
Sumeric. Look, Sumeria. Sumeria is a place.
The Sumerians.
The Sumerians.
People.
They were doing some tribal stuff back in the day.
About baby sacrifices. I'm just
Let's
kidding.
not talk about that.
We're not slandering the Sumerians.
We're going to edit. Okay, you start with it. I'm not saying. I can't say it. Be careful when you're practicing any type of fire magic. Fire tends to explode things like
ceramic,
glass. They break and shatter.
Yes.
Use metal or cast iron.
Yes.
They don't break.
Yes.
And shatter. Yes. Just call us smoky or not.
No, don't.
The word smoky is not copyright, but the rest of that is. If you know, you know.
You know.
She's looking at Jesus.
I am.
I have Jesus in my house, even though I'm a pagan. Spiritual hot take.
I have Jesus in my house too.
You can talk to Jesus and be a pagan, and there's Christian pagans. There are lots of people that talk to Jesus and the angels.
Yeah.
And you can use Psalms 55 for a hex.
And Jesus, this is the season of Jesus's resurrection as well.
I maybe shouldn't have said that, as you said that.
Why?
I said Psalms 55 is a hex, and you said this is Jesus' resurrection.
All of it. All of it stays in. It's all true.
The Bible is a book of spells.
It is.
Praying for somebody without consent is spiritually crossing a boundary.
She said what she said.
I said what I said.
Yep.
Are we wrapping up now?
Well, that was a interesting little factoid about spirituality. Do you have anything you'd like to add, Cinnamon Grove, today?
Editing, Cinnamon Grove checking in. I just saw that we really didn't add any ways to currently venerate these deities, Cernunnos or Persephone. So I'm going to jump in real quick from the editing chair and tell you that you can venerate Cernunnos, the green man, the horned one, by, of course, always start off with your research. Look into ancient Celtic mythology, read the tales, verify with a psychic if he is on your team, or reach out and ask for him to be on your team. Colors associated with him are green, light blue, white, yellow for the sun. You could make an altar space once you verify that he's around, or if you feel like calling upon him, and adorn it with trees and leaves and grains, patchouli, smell, essential oils, some cinnamon, oak moss, sweet birch, velvet. You could also go on nature walks and petition him that way. But ultimately, I would do your research. Start understanding what your spirit is, if this is your first deity that you're trying to work with. Like your spirit guides, your spirit team. Sit with that for a little bit and then move on to other deities. But those are ways that you can work with the green man. Now, this is how you could work with Persephone. Really dive into your research. With Greek deities, because they have different titles, you need to figure out which version of Persephone that you want to work with. Is it the goddess of spring? Is it the goddess of life and death? Is it the goddess of vegetation? Is it the goddess of exorcism or beauty? Which one? Because each one of the different variants of Persephone is different types of things. So look into who it is that you want to work with, and then start venerating her in that way. If you're working with her all year long, when she goes into the underworld, mark that time by decorating it with like skulls and bones, her altar space, and instead of in the spring, put a plant up there. Notice that if you work with her and you are working with the different sides of her, the one that goes to the underworld and the one that comes home to Demeter, that one time is not more important than the other, and that you need to respect all aspects of her and decide how you want to work with her. Deities come around and choose to be around you to teach you a lesson, but it's ultimately your decision to allow them in and to work with them yourself. So I hope this helps, this little short. I'm gonna edit it in to let you know how to work with these deities, but also I offer deity confirmation readings on Ko-Fi, cinnamongrove. My link is around, so if you want to check that one out as well. And happy witching.
It's Jesus' resurrection season and hexing people with the Bible at the same time. Great. I love that for us.
I love that for us too.
Okay.
If you know us, maybe you don't. Or maybe you do.
Or maybe you want to.
Maybe you want to. Message us something. Email, baby. We are going to set up an Instagram.
Coming soon.
Instagram
to Instagram. Shades of Jade podcast.
The mess of us.
Eyebrow raise. You can't see that, but I did it.
So many things in this.
Also, YouTube. We're going to be on YouTube soon.
We're going to be on YouTube. We're going to post just audio, so you'll just see our logo, because editing like I do with the little shorts are only good for shorts, because it takes forever to put like my emoji, her emoji. It's not emojis. Our art. Our art.
They're avatars.
Our art.
Our art by Tigerrific.
Check them out below.
Yes.
So I feel like...
Oh, also, we have an amazing spring playlist on our podcast profile.
How did we not talk about that?
Oh my goodness. We have an amazing spring playlist. You need to listen to that.
Also,
it is hoppin'.
There is a random song on there. So if you find it, you know you know. And if you find it and you would like to comment to that song or email us that song,
our email will be in the description.
We may give away a free reading for our next episode. Free card pull.
Just email us the song that stands out.
The one that we are thinking.
You will know.
You will know, or you won't.
You will.
The glare is glaring through the microphone.
You'll know.
So yeah, check out our playlist. We made it. We put a whole bunch of lots of love into that and fun
we hope
jams.
You really jam out. I did. I jammed out to that playlist. It was really great. Really great. We have another playlist on there from last season or last month, and it was the Pisces season podcast, and it is loaded with Carrie Underwood and Justin Bieber songs. Yes. So if you like them, you should check that out as well.
Unfortunately, we could not find really popular Aries to compare birth charts.
But we're going to try again. Maybe for Taurus season.
We have to look. Look, we need one.
We definitely have some Gemini season.
We do.
Coming in strong, but we're gonna look into Taurus season. We definitely have a great episode coming up for Taurus season. We're gonna talk about some amazing Taurus bull associated deities. That's gonna be so much fun. And Taurus is ruled by Venus.
Venus.
So that's just a sneak little preview of that. You can take some wild guesses on who we might be talking about there. Okay. And so, what a wonderful episode today.
It was fun. There was lots of things in here I feel like that would be cool on a t-shirt. Like we may be burying something. If you know, you know.
One day there may be merch.
Eventually in the future.
Eventually. Would you like merch?
Would you like merch?
Would you like merch?
Vote below and polls, because I can make polls and nobody's voting.
Vote on our polls.
Message us things.
Email us.
Find us on Instagram near you.
And soon, YouTube, which will be linked once we have that set up. We will be linking our YouTube on our podcast on Spotify as well.
Yes, because not everybody has Spotify. So if you're joining us from YouTube, put a deer emoji in the comments.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Jadeite Army, for joining us today. We appreciate you for coming, and we hope to catch you next time.
Run your birth charts.
And see where your Aries placements are.
And Chiron. Stay hydrated.
And
back up your profiles and your saves.
And delete any suspicious search engine content.
Or keep all your smut.
Praying mantis smut.
She said what she said.
Have a great Aries season. Stay blessed.
Stay sinners.
Stay grounded.
Stay grounded.
That was the least grounded ending.
Stay hydrated.
Definitely. Eat a snack.
Or be the snack.
Be a snack. Even better. Yes.
Signing out.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.